1 between RNG and LNG. LNG have done it. They have advanced to the next stage, and here we are against RNG, our reigning spring split champions, who aren't looking too good going into the fall playoffs. But let's see what goes on here. Is LNG taken the Viego with the LeBlanc as well as the Ash, and now we're on the second rounds of bans. And we're just going to jump right into it. We're not going to look too much into the previous picks, as now LNG, what can they look to ban? Well, on the side of RNG at least, there is a ton of options available. It looks like the Rel will be taken away. Interesting enough, Ming's signature Nautilus is still up and available. The Leona is still up and available. LNG had some great success, of course, with the Rel, which they instead opted to ban this round, as Iwandi can play the Nautilus as well. It looks like Volibear is going to be the jungler of choice. This is most likely going to be a top lane Viego. A lot of success with that Ali has had, but RNG with the instantaneous Leona and Cannon picks into the Viego, as another Freljordian champion is locked in a very rapid series of picks coming out here from LNG. Both teams, in fact, coming out with just absolutely swinging with crying, going for the Lissandra in order to counter the LeBlanc of Icon. And interestingly enough, both teams kind of suffer from not extremely excellent mid laners. It's like Icon, you really see him at his best. The team performs at their best when he is on the Karma, when he is on the Lulu, when Tarzan is on the Sinjao, when there is something. In fact, the Sinjao hasn't even picked this round. When there is something for Icon to go and support Tarzan with in the mid lane with an Enchanter support. Meanwhile, top laners for RNG and LNG, both playmakers in their own rights, and of course the bot lane, Gala, an absolute micro genius, an absolute mobster and monster of a player in the AD carry position. And right now, I would say that Ale technically is more well known for being a bigger playmaker amongst the two, but Xiao, who actually, as I've mentioned time and time again, as everyone has managed to give him a pat on the back for, really, it is just Xiao Hu playing so well, coming into a new role, coming into the 2021 year, which is fast coming to a close, as Tarzan starts up topside, as does Wei, both leashless. However, LNG are fully aware of which side of the map RNG's jungle has started on, and there's a bit of trading in the bot side, as Iwandi on that Trundle is not really someone you want to trade into as a melee support, especially, regardless of who you are. And now if we look at the champions, is Xiao Hu most clearly going to be getting the advantage in the top lane shove. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, is probably going to go in favor of Crying. In the bot side, LNG looks like their level 1 is insanely strong with the Ashe as well as the Trundle, although most of the power is more likely than not going to come from that Trundle. And Crying seems to be struggling in terms of getting the wave under wraps, I would say, but honestly, you can't expect it to go his way. Now let's see where both teams want to play towards. LNG have kind of a supportive bot side, so their focus will most likely be towards this top side, and RNG can play towards bot side, can play towards top side, really drafting themselves a lot of options, a lot of avenues, a lot of places to play through. And honestly, I'm just so excited to see LNG go again, because like I said previously, Ale on this Viego did an absolute clinic onto who did they fight just now? I literally knew this, it's not TES. Onto Suning when in game 2, absolutely playing their best. And now Tarzan with mid priority from Icon, who's opted to trade some of his HP, able to walk right into this side of the map, able to steal away the red buff from Wei with 2 lanes of priority. Looks like Tarzan has identified where he wants to play through, and unfortunately Wei can't do anything on the opposite side of the map. In fact, he can't do anything at all, because Xiao Hu also seems to be struggling to get the wave pushed towards him, and because of his pathing, of course, which they managed to get that ward down because of the LeBlanc pick. So in a way, this LeBlanc pick really opens up the map, opens up LNG for so many more things. So it's very nice to see the LNG coming into game 1 with that level of preparation, drafting the LeBlanc, getting in for the deep wars, which you really cannot predict. At this point, sooner or later, the pro teams will begin to predict it, I guess, especially if you're a jungler and there's a LeBlanc in the opponent's side of the map. So very good plays here coming out from LNG. It's nice to see how well prepared they are. On the flip side, RNG don't seem too particularly phased with this. Wei is just down here to see if maybe he could be in position for a counter gank, but Tarzan is still just continuing to push out his wave as Gala is engaged upon by the pillar, and Iwandi stepping forward as is Light, and Gala doing a real good job in a practical 1v2 situation to just trade everything back towards him. Now Xiao Hu is going to try and crash this wave, and thankfully Ale is probably not going to be too worried about a dive. Despite that, he does need to be a little bit careful as Crying is is not in lane. Teleport is of course available, and Wei is making his way up towards this lane. If Xiaohu can delay this crash a little bit, it looks like Wei is making his way across. Will he be distracted by the Scuttle Crab? It looks like he will be. Besides, Tarzan is up here as well. Teleport is not available from Icon, however, and this could be a teleport advantage converting into perhaps an advantage overall from RNG, as a ward is placed down. Wei now fishing and hunting for Tarzan. Mid priority, however, is not really his. The lane state is quite equal, so he does need to be a little bit careful, so just laying down as much vision as possible. And still, Ale is probably feeling a little bit nervous at this point in time because he still has no clue where Wei is, and he knows that Crying has teleport. Regardless, it looks like he is still going to be safe. So RNG have a little bit of an opportunity to go for something over there, but opted eventually not to. And looking at the CS across the lanes, honestly, everyone is doing pretty well. Obviously, there's a little bit of advantage in favor of Xiaohu in the top lane. Tarzan with the early advantage that his team, the whole team in as a whole, managed to acquire from him, is doing pretty well. Icon trading pretty nicely here, but you can see how hard it is to do damage to that Lissandra, how tanky she is against assassins at least. And yeah, just teleport being blown. Really, across the map, everything is pretty even. Icon, a little bit of an advantage. Bot lane, absolutely fair and square. Now, Tarzan just continuing his clear, as is Wei. Meanwhile, Xiaohu, there isn't nothing too much to be careful about here, I suppose. So let's look at both of these team compositions, and what do you expect? RNG do not scale, but they have fantastic team fighting and really good poke, which means that they're going to want to fight in this mid-game, want to get to their mid-game power spike points and run LNG over. LNG, as we know, have no problems whatsoever just playing together, just letting laning phase go by, coming together as five, as a ball in the mid to late game, and just playing together exceptionally. So much individual skill coming out of almost every single lane. In fact, like we previously identified, Icon really is the weakest link, micro speaking, amongst the players, as is Crying, I would argue. Now, what does that mean? That means RNG is going to really want to take these Rift Heralds, and in fact, if they can start stacking early dragons, that in of itself wouldn't be too bad. But stacking early dragons is a little bit of a struggle when the bot lane has perma priority in favor of LNG, and in this mid lane, Icon is absolutely having a field day, just chunking out Crying, who is just suffering in terms of mana consumption, trying to match it. Now, in the top side, it looks like there's a bit of a wave being built in favor of Xiaohu, who is just stacking up his wave right now. Ali can't really touch it, so there's potential for a dive there. We got Crying heading back to base. We have Wei coming out towards the top side to try and secure that blue buff. But a very nice ward has been dropped, I do believe, by Ali on his blue buff, and he will be spotted out. The question also being, will Tarzan come down to this bot side and try attempt another red buff steal? Looks like with Icon coming back, he's going to be topped up. He's going to have the items. He's going to have the abilities. He's going to be able to try and look for a contest here, as Xiaohu dodging very nicely away from the Spectrum Wall, unleashing down with the Gale Force, but Ale using his ultimate to just get away is going to be able to teleport. Oh wait, he does not have teleport, and in fact the wave is rather massive. Crying is returning back to base. Tarzan is in the area. Wei is still a level down due to the red buff steals already. LNG's early efforts are already producing some very good benefits. The rewards are being reaped, but Ale is going to be zoned from this magnificently huge wave. Icon is making his way up. Both the bot laners are actually chilling like a villain, so there's really not too much to worry about right now, and RNG just satisfied with denying Ale some experience and definitely a lot more gold. But wait, could he try for something here? He's still trying to leech off some experience. He should probably be really near to level 6, and Tarzan, if he walks into the Tribush, this could go catastrophic for them. Xiaohu does not have his ultimate, so he's not as strong as he could potentially be, but he's already zoning Ale so magnificently, and meanwhile Wei is still sitting in the bush. Ale is playing very well, all things considered, having a lot of discipline, not wanting to throw his life away. Will need to recall and try and get away from this, but Wei is still so significantly behind, 10 CS behind, still not even level 6 back. He's pacing back and forth in the river as in comes the Zenithal right onto light. In fact, the Trundle Pillar was not enough to disrupt him, but I managed to push Gala away. Means he didn't get to land any auto attacks, so the piercing arrow was not so bad. In comes the Chains of Corruption, instantly cleansed by light. Good amount of time there, and it looks like Rift Herald is going to be started up. It's going to be a full top side fight, no bot side participation at all by the looks of it, as Tarzan is just sitting in the jungle. Wei is still level 5 to the level 6 of Tarzan, is looking pretty bad. In comes the mist. Wei with the smite will be able to get level 6 as a result. Crying looking in comes the Ash Arrow, very nice ultimate onto Crying, ulting himself, not really neglecting any damage, but absolutely stalling the stun, which Wei had to eat up for him. Meanwhile, we're looking in the bot side, there's a dive coming down right onto Light. Light has been hit out by the Solar Flare. Now Gala's being smacked down by the pillar, forced to flash away from Iwandi, who honestly did not have any mana to continue his assault. Nice play across the board by RNG's individual members, resulting in a 1k gold lead. Now Tarzan is towards this bottom side, but does not want to look for anything. Not sure where the bot lane of RNG is, and already LNG in a very comfortable position. Sorry, RNG is already in a very comfortable position. Individual lanes are making good plays. Xiaohu being an absolute menace up in this top side, and there's really nothing Ali can do, because even if he lands with the Spectral Maw, in comes the ultimate from Xiaohu and just one-shots him practically. Wei was in the area, but just going to be able to drop this Rift Herald. Though I'm not sure if dropping this Rift Herald is a pretty good idea, because of course Xiaohu will not... Actually, no, it is a fantastic idea, because you do not want LNG to scale and get to the mid to late game. You do not want their entire composition to just simply outscale you. You have to accept the fact that Tarzan is most likely in your bot side. He's most likely just taking everything, and you need to get something back. So you got to take his Krugs, you got to pressure the top side. You want to bring about an end as quick as possible. This is only bad if RNG can't do anything with this. If Viego, if Ale manages to just freeze it down up in this top side and just nothing happens, but meanwhile in the bot side there's potential perhaps for a dive. But I guess with Iwandi joining up with Tarzan, that wouldn't be possible, because Light will not be able to make a big enough wave. And let's see what goes on as Tarzan now moving towards the Krugs. He is wrapping around behind the bot side of RNG, but it looks like he's not at all interested, just looking, perhaps poking in for a dive opportunity. Does have Stormbringer available. It looks like he will use it mid lane, crying a little bit low on mana, does not have his ultimate available, using the claw over the wall and will be safe. It looks like Tarzan is just going to console himself with his bot side jungle and maybe even dragons. In comes the Solar Flare. Light forced to flash away, smiling as he does it, knows that he was a little bit too far up, and he probably is going to feel a little bit uncomfortable without that. But really, Ash into this composition is not particularly bad. If you manage to hit Enchanted Crystal Arrow onto Kennen with his Slicing Maelstrom on, it will feel real bad, because he will be stopped right in his tracks. And he doesn't have a stopwatch in order to dodge it very well. It looks like there's going to be a fight breaking out, but it's a 4v3 in favor of LNG, as Ming is trying to frontline. Gala being jumped onto by both Icon as well as Tarzan. He's going to be instantly blown up as Tarzan follows suit. In comes the Lissandra, and Icon is stunned up. They know exactly who he is because of Red Smite, and Xiaohu even making his way down here after the fight ends. Does have the Slicing Maelstrom off of cooldown just about now, and RNG stacking up a pretty late dragon at 11 minutes, but they're just trying to make the game go as fast as they can. They're just trying to get the ball rolling, and LNG, try as they may, have fallen behind about 4,000 gold at this point. So RNG making some very good plays, but of course we can never count LNG out, because they are so good at playing together, looking for advantages, making picks in the mid to late game, playing as a team, and they have a great composition for it. LeBlanc can make picks, Ale with the Viego can definitely do some big damage in the team fight. Diving towers is going to be no issue at all with Tarzan, with Iwandi on the Volibear, on the Trundle. And we see here RNG just in a better position, because Ale is all the way up to the top side and Kennen is in the mid lane. Unfortunately, Gala had to tank the brunt of all the damage, all the burst, all the dive. But fortunately, he managed to stall out long enough to the effect that two people had to be traded for him, as they just used all of their abilities to get into position. And right now, trading out into a 1-3-1 by the looks of it. They just really want to siege down as many towers as they can. And really, they do have quite a hard time sieging, I suppose. LNG doesn't have stellar wave clear, but they do have facilitated wave clear with the Ash volleys coming out, though she might run out of mana relatively soon, as Xiaohu is still maintaining his CS lead very far ahead of Ale, nearly 2,000 gold ahead. In fact, altogether he can be attributed with about half of the gold lead, as he's now going on to Icon with the Slicing Maelstrom. Stun does land, but the passive is there to put him into invisibility, and Xiaohu really not waiting for anything, looking for opportunities, trying to make them happen for his team, drawing a lot of pressure down to his bot side, but does need to be careful, does not have any deep vision available, and Tarzan is in the area, but so is Ming as well as Wei. In fact, even Gala is motioning down towards this side of the map a little bit more, trying to contest for this Rift Herald, I do believe. Now Tarzan needs to be a little bit wary, because Wei is in the area. In fact, Wei has managed to come back into the game, even coming back with a bit of an XP lead at level 9 to the level 8 of Wei, despite being so far down in terms of terms of CS, as down comes the pillar. Wei jumping in with the audacious charge, but using his ultimate. In comes the Solar Flare onto Iwandi, tagging out only one character. So multiple trade of ultimates as Gala now trying for the steal, nearly grabs it, does manage to chunk Tarzan out quite significantly, but he will have the red buff available. But Rift Herald is spawning soon, as is RNG's blue buff, so LNG do have some things to make a play for. Though at 4,000 gold deficit, will they be the ones who want to start something up? Xiaohu, being the strongest point of his team, will want to be in the area for sure, as enticing as Icon might be. Slicing Maelstrom might just be off of cooldown as Rift Herald spawns, and meanwhile, we haven't seen Ali's face for a minute and a half, and he has been, he's been catching up in terms of CS, I guess, as best as he can, but he's still roughly 2,000, more than 2,000 gold behind at this point. In fact, the gold deficits are only in the top side, and actually in all the side lanes. It's only Icon, as much as I may have flamed him previously as being the weak link in LNG, it is only Icon who is staying ahead of his counterpart right now. In fact, looking at the gold between Crying and Ali is still a little bit behind, relatively even, I suppose, and it looks like LNG are just going to forfeit this next Rift Herald. Maybe they can look for a pick down towards mid lanes. Iwandi is stepping up with the pillar. Unfortunately, they don't have such great engage in the support position. That the engage is really going to come from the enchanted crystal arrows, the roots maybe from Icon, which again, that's for pick, not for engage. And of course, the flash in from Tarzan with the, I forgot what it's called, it's not Rolling Thunder anymore, I call it the Paw Smash. But let's see how it goes down. Now the gold lead still maintains at 4,000 gold RNG. I don't think they're accelerating the pace of this game particularly fast enough, but then again, it's only 15 minutes down still. They only have two towers, mid lane outer tower, the most important outer tower of the game, especially when you're trying to accelerate a game, is still standing for LNG. And I'm pretty sure LNG have no qualms with just letting bot lane die if it needs to, but they're going to want to hold on to this tier 3 outer mid lane turret for as long as humanly possible. In fact, if they manage to maintain it throughout, let's say 20, 25, even 30 minutes, by the 30th minute, if that tower is not fallen, LNG are actually looking in a fantastic position. And it's not that they scale particularly fantastically, it's just that RNG do not scale fantastically with the Lissandra pick, with the Xin Zhao pick, with the, I guess the Varus does scale pretty well when you have mostly squishies. Ali's gonna be a bit of a bruiser, still relatively squishy. Tarzan is also kind of gone for the bruiser build, so relatively squishy as well. Dragon is spawning in 30 seconds time, but LNG don't look particularly interested in contesting this at all, which means we're gonna probably have a little calm 5 to 7 minutes of time. Unless someone gets caught somewhere along the way. Wei needs to be careful, of course. He is not at all tanky enough to stand for the burst that Icon can produce, in spite of his Gore Drinker. And LNG are actually getting some insane mid priority right now as RNG wrap around. Rift Herald is dropped towards the bot side. I don't really know what the point of that is as the tower does fall. I think I would much prefer to see that Rift Herald push down into the mid lane. Meanwhile, Ale is just having the time of his life with his tower. Does have teleport available. Xiaohu being jumped onto by Icon, trading out half of his HP. Meanwhile, Icon is still at full HP, even only trading his ultimate off. As in comes the charge, top tower goes in favor of LNG. Dragon goes in favor of RNG. Bot tier 2 as well in favor of RNG. And overall, still, I think LNG are, they're starting to fall. Hey, no, it's the gold is still at 4,000. So Ali doing a real good job up in the top side, continuously applying pressure. But really, that Rift Herald should definitely have been used mid lane in order to, as I previously alluded to, just pressure the tower, because you need to shove them in. And now in the next 5 minutes, LNG at 22 minutes, they could feel a little bit of pressure to try and pick up the dragon or try and fight the dragon. Inferno Soul is a really good one here for RNG. At least it makes the effort of them stacking these dragons to be relatively worth it. And now LNG need to start considering their options. They definitely probably will want to contest Dragon 3, and they definitely 100% need to contest Dragon 4. And now Iwandi might get wrapped around here by Crying, who can just use the claw over the wall. And it looks like Ale is going to come and group with his team a little bit. In fact, just clearing out the waves from Tarzan. Poor Tarzan has to give up part of his jungle to try and get Ale back into the team, because of course he is the main team fight threat. The Viego resets are exactly what you want to be playing with. And it looks like the solo laners are going to be grouping together to pressure the bot side from LNG. But meanwhile, having no one in this mid lane means RNG might be able to push this tower down for free. free. They don't know it either, however, how free this tower is, but with 3 people here and only Iwandi posturing, I don't think Light is going to be in position as Ale trying to bait Crying into them. Xiaohu does have teleport available, and Crying with his ultimate will be able to actually stall for much long enough. He even has the aftershock for tankiness, but unfortunately Varus isn't the best sieger. He's got fantastic poke, but his auto attack range is significantly low as Xiaohu nearly face checks into both Iwandi as well as Tarzan. Could have potentially one-shotted them both if you think about it. Does have the Zhonya's available, is already at his second item as in comes the Slicing Maelstrom down onto Iwandi and Tarzan, but the pillar is there, very effective, and the Stormbringer comes out, Tarzan forcing his ultimate out. And if you think about it, actually I forgot to mention that this Trundle pick is absolutely stellar because RNG's their main sources of engage being Ming as well as Xiaohu can definitely get disrupted, as can the Audacious Charge can be disrupted by the pillar. So really, with the Trundle pick, you have so much disengage, and yeah, I really like LNG's composition now that I'm thinking about it some more, and now that I'm looking at it as a total. The Trundle absolutely absolutely wraps up this composition exceptionally well. And in this mid lane, RNG are just struggling to try and push this game down LNG's throats. The gold lead still maintains, but LNG just feels so comfortable at this stage. They are not having to give up too much. The jungle of LNG is not being invaded. RNG are not able to, I mean, they've gotten all of the sideways, but they cannot pressure because they do not have the mid lane tier 3. At this point, I feel like they should just group up as 5, play through mid, try and get some vision on either side, probably towards Baron, and then look for a dive because they do not have Baron damage either. There's no rushing it. They don't have damage from a Lethality Varus or a Xin Zhao or a Cannon. And LNG right now, the only thing they need to worry about is this dragon, which is coming out in a minute and 50 seconds time. And even then, they can't afford to let it go if it means getting to their 2-item power spikes, which Ale is still running towards. Everyone, in fact, on the side of LNG is still working hand and foot to try and get that second item. Meanwhile, Xiaohu is happily building towards his third, while the rest of his team is actually in the same predicament as LNG, still struggling to find the resources to get to the second item. But RNG, I don't think you can afford to play so slowly. But of course, I mean, if they manage to out team fight LNG technically to a certain extent, the items wouldn't matter too much. Like the space you're giving LNG wouldn't matter too much. But again, RNG trying to siege down mid tower, trying to whittle it down a bit. Iwandi is going to be in position. Icon is going to be in position to save it, and they're just trying to get some vision down. 1 more minute to go. Ale might be a bit too far forward as Gala, Ming as well as Wei are moving down towards him. In fact, Ming has a really nice wraparound, but it looks like he's just going to plant deep vision and allow Ale to retreat. So Ale playing his hand very well, trying his best to come back in terms of CS and doing a pretty good job. I mean, he's not going to catch up with Xiaohu anytime soon, but he's managed to maintain the CS lead only at a certain amount, which has been about 30 throughout this entire thing. Icon jumping forward, trying to find Gala. Gala had the Chains of Corruption. In comes the Center Blade right on to Iwandi. In comes the teleport as well. Ale is still unmoving down towards the bot side, trying to pressure the outer tower, trying to get himself some more gold. As RNG trying to force something right here. Need to use the Solar Flare a little bit carefully because of course Iwandi does have the pillar and it's really hard to run into a Trundle into this position. He can just pillar off the entrance and the rest of your team will be inflicted with a 60% slow as Wei trying to pick up this Scuttle Crab before Iwandi smite does come down. Wei's not going to have that for the next 12 seconds. We're probably at 11 seconds, 10, 5, 9, 8, sorry, 9 seconds at this point as RNG poking back and forth with the pick from Gala. And they will start up this dragon. Icon is already on the flanks. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, this priority is going in favor of LNG. It is a wraparound Wei. They have no idea where Icon is. He jumps in now trying to assassinate Wei. As Wei is staying razor focused, in comes Tarzan. Des managed to steal away. Wei being stunned up as well. And Xiaohu was just being distracted. But the rest of LNG just fades before the combined damage of RNG as Iwandi goes into the stopwatch to no avail. And Ale did a great job there, just keeping Xiaohu busy, forcing him to flash over the wall. But ultimately, Xiaohu just coming in with the Slicing Maelstrom, with the Rocket Belt. And now RNG will definitely be able to take down this tower. At least if there's one consolation, Tarzan did manage to get in there and steal away the dragon. That would have been absolutely catastrophic if he was not able to, but it looks like the solo laners of LNG are going to try to make a play here. 2v4 position, no ults available for the rest of RNG. In comes the flash double distortion. Alright, on to Wei, but he's not ready to target one as it's actually Ale who's just focusing hard onto Gala. Looks like he's going to get the resets. Wei nearly taken out, does manage to survive with just the Triumph and the rest of his team. Gore Drinker as well, and maybe Conqueror coming in as well. Icon flashing in for the double distortion. Unfortunately, the majority of their damage did go down onto Wei. I do believe that Ale pretty much soloed Gala in that position. Gala not even having the time to flash, maybe did get nicked by the double distortion. In fact, let's see what happens. So Ale doing a real good job here, like I previously mentioned, just focusing on Xiaohu. Icon jumps in, disrupts Wei for a little bit. Tarzan does get stunned up by Crying, get rooted, but the smite does go down at 600 HP, after which point Wei actually manages to survive because of his ultimate, and Tarzan is just incinerated. In fact, the entirety of LNG absolutely eradicated by the Slicing Maelstrom. But you have to respect how confident Ali and Icon were taking a 2v4, probably just taking inventory of what RNG did and did not have, realizing that the ultimates were not available and that they were not as reliant on their ultimates, or their ultimates at least had a shorter cooldown if you were Icon, than their opponents. So they were able to make a pick, able to try and get something. In fact, 1-for-1 in a 2 versus 4 situation, you gotta be quite happy with that, I believe. Now, RNG setting up for Baron, but again, you're gonna need some severe rotations and absolute lack of focus. You're gonna need some severe miss rotations and an absolute lack of focus on the side of LNG to expect them to allow you to take this Baron with the minimal, negligible, nearly zero amount of damage that you have on your composition for neutral objectives with such massive HP pools. As Xiaohu just looking for an opportunity yet again to try and one-shot Icon. He's quite slippery, however, just needs to be able to get away from the Slicing Maelstrom with the distortion, and you pretty much have no shot of one-shotting him. As in the bot side, in comes the Solar Flare, landing onto Tarzan, forcing out the Stormbreaker. Even, oh my god, 3 ultimates actually used onto Tarzan in exchange for 1. So already LNG probably licking their lips. Icon is channeling his recall, will have a teleport available. Maybe they even want to try and jump in onto RNG. I don't know how smart this is. They're just testing the waters to see if LNG will respond. If they don't, they'll take it. But if they do, they will have to back out, as they don't have the Frozen Tomb, they don't have the Chains of Corruption, they don't have the Solar Flare. Xiaohu is not in the area. Ale is coming in. They're being engulfed and surrounded. RNG in a terrible position. In comes the slow from Tarzan. Xiaohu with the teleport onto the Raptor's bush, but Icon trying his best to nearly one-shot him, forcing him into the zone as he's going to be there for the return. Crystal Arrow goes wide. Xiaohu pops the Glacial, pops the ultimate, but unfortunately doesn't go down. Wei knocking Ale away from the fight, but now everyone is so low. RNG is so split. Tarzan is so low, but he's just fiercely jumping right back in as Light takes Wei out with the volley. Ale jumping in to try and get a kill as Ming manages to stun him out. Beautiful stopwatch coming in, allowing him to survive, but Icon will be gifted a kill as a result, and the fight going horribly in favor of LNG. If you're an RNG fan, a 4-for-1 trade. Baron is going to go in favor of LNG. They don't really have fantastic Baron damage as well. But when 4 members of your opponent's team are in the gray screen graveyard, there really is nothing to worry about, I suppose, as the next objective is going to spawn in a minute and 10 seconds. That is going to be the next Infernal Dragon spawning. At least RNG can console themselves on the fact that hopefully LNG will be too busy contesting for Dragon in order to push the waves and use the Baron to the fullest extent. And look how Icon absolutely chunks out Xiaohu here, who uses his Rocker Belt to dodge the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and then just pops the Slicing Maelstrom, really hitting nothing, electrocuting Oxygen. And Wei trying his best to play goalkeeper against Ale, but Ale just coming in completely safe, completely untouched, flashing in with the wind becomes lightning, and landing onto Ming, and actually nearly making a play over there. Not that he would have survived, I think, because of course the passive does not de-aggro turrets, and now RNG do have first rotation, but LNG with the Baron buff will be able to play through literally all 3 waves by the look of it, as top wave is also pushing in favor of LNG. Quite a massive wave has been built. Tarzan taking a little bit of damage, already at 2 items for both junglers, as LNG, the gold lead, has practically shrunk to nothing. We're on even footing here, and LNG just looks so much more comfortable with that very annoying Trundle pick, absolutely stopping RNG. The poke coming in from Gala has not been true so far, and the volley so far has been more consistent form of poke by the looks of it. Ale just putting down the mist, trying to pressure RNG, making them wonder where he's going to be coming from. Actually, he does have a pretty nice flank position now on to Gala, but Ming is covering it as Xiaohu is looking for a better flank position. Ming forced to use a control ward into the back lines as Dragon is being aggroed up. LNG taking quite a bit of poke. Tarzan down to about 2/3 HP as is Light. Icon jumping forward, immediately gets jumped onto with the audacious charge from Wei, but top wave has now crashed. It is slowly fading away. Mid lane is pretty much even, but bot side's also kind of in favor of LNG, and now RNG are pressured to start up this Dragon. It does reset, however, and the pillar is available. Ale just poking and prodding with his mist, making the members of RNG scurry away ever so little, making them back off as Icon now on the sides. They have no vision on him. They do need, as he's jumping in, trying to look for Gala. Ming gets tagged up by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, even tags up the Distortion as well, as Ale manages to pick him up, but he's instantly incinerated. Don't think, wait, ultimate has been used already as Dragon is taken away by Icon. Light is in the front line. Xiaohu forced into the Zonias, but Icon's completely untouched. Light is untouched as well in the back lines, crying in his stopwatch. Xiaohu trying to step forward, and Iwandi is still so healthy. Stopwatch does go down, crying, forced back into the claw as Icon looking for a chance to one-shot Gala as best as he can. Gala, without his flash, will not be able to take Iwandi. Iwandi, yet again, one of the immortals of the game. This is a common theme that's followed them since the battle against Suning. Iwandi is always the one who escapes with just a sliver of HP. I'm not sure which deity he does look towards for his favor, but right now, he and the rest of LNG are looking absolutely spectacular, and Xiaohu, with the rest of RNG on the other hand, are not looking so hot at this point in time. As already 3 items in the shop of Light. He has completed nice amount of items too, and his items are quite a bit more expensive than Gala's. Usually the penetration items, lethality items tend to be a little bit cheaper. Xiaohu at least has still managed to maintain his item advantage, is building towards the death cap right now. Meanwhile, Ali is still working towards his 3rd item. Wei is working towards his Sterak's as well, while Tarzan, it looks like he's going to go for a Warmogs. Perhaps, I'm not quite sure. It most likely is going to be a Warmogs. Meanwhile, Icon, having an exceptionally good game, is building towards his Void Staff, already has the Death Cap available, already packing a punch, already a huge threat to the cannon, to the Varus, to even the support at this point in time, as Icon just hops over the wall with the Distortion, is actually crying, who is down towards the bot side. Ale looks like he was looking for an opportunity to jump onto it, in spite of being 1-4-3. Ale is being an absolute threat this game. They have to focus him, they have to throw a lot of spells at him, as they've got a decent amount of CC. So things are definitely possible here for RNG, but it's going to be exceedingly difficult, as LNG now can absolutely contest everything. They can take control of the map. In fact, they seem more in control of the map. RNG always feel like the ones that they have to scurry around and look for better openings. But both teams looking to flank each other and looking to be wary of each other's flanks, as Gala at least has managed to secure himself a blue buff, which means more piercing arrows to come out, more chances to poke down the enemy, more ability to clear the waves. Tarzan, meanwhile, nothing particularly spectacular has happened in this game. The slicing maelstroms right now are absolutely key. It's just a question of whether Xiaohu can get like maybe 3 to 4 members down, or he gets one-shotted by Icon, or stunned up by Light, or the pillar comes out from Iwandi as Icon stepping forward, which is the Distortion and the double sigil. But Wei now looking to charge in with the audacious charge. Tarzan stepping forward, tanking a piercing arrow to the face. Wei is taken quite low, and they really an astounding lack of range coming out from RNG's members to clear out that last control ward. Meanwhile, Crying is just perpetually pinned under the tower as Ale is just continuously aggressing towards him. Gala has been pillared up, looks like a stun coming out onto Tarzan, forcing out the Stormbringer. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Ale is just jumping onto Crying as hard as he can. Piercing arrow comes in, Icon tagged up by the wind becoming lightning. In comes another piercing arrow, and RNG's composition now is shining. Ale does have the flank, but Ming walking towards the mist absolutely fearlessly. And RNG, unfortunately, in spite of their very good poke, this is the first time in the entirety of the game. Wait, LNG might be in trouble here, as Ale and Iwandi find themselves quite out of position, as the rest of their team are backing off, but Ale is just traversing so easily with his mist to run around in. So right now, you gotta say that things aren't like, that's the first sign of Gala being able to push effectively, being able to harass with his piercing arrow. And if he manages to get enough shots off, LNG are definitely going to be an unfortunate position, as their engage is not as good for sure as RNG's. They really are mostly reliant on a stellar enchanted crystal arrow coming out from Light. But right now, so far, RNG seem to have struggled to get that degree of poke going down. So, like we previously said, the game is kind of up in the air. The goal leads slightly in favor of RNG, but we know at this point that doesn't really mean anything, as LNG have hit their significant items. Piercing arrow coming through. Tarzan is still yet to complete any 3rd item. In fact, he's kind of up in the air, just sitting on the Kindle gem. Does have the stopwatch as well. Dragon is spawning in 40 seconds time, and this is a key dragon for either team. Both teams at soul point at this point after this dragon, and you really really don't want LNG to start stacking up any more Infernal Dragons at this point. Even the Trundle might become a huge threat with the amount of percent damage you get out of him. But Ale, look at him, just perpetually pitting crying under the bot side tower. Look at the vision in the bot side jungle of RNG, entirely in favor of LNG. Ale even looking for any nooks and crannies of vision he can take advantage of. He's jumping onto crying at half HP. Ale not even using his ultimate, not even using his flash, as crying now has fallen quite significantly out of the game, in my opinion. Way starting up this Baron, but in comes the Hawk shot, and LNG fully aware of this, converging from all sides. They have taken it down to half HP, but they just don't have the consistent damage to continue this, as the piercing arrows provide decent amounts of burst. In comes teleport, crying teleporting into mid lane, but Ali's got a significantly shorter teleport as Way just gets exploded by the combined efforts of Light, I1D, and Icon. And Tarzan, as I1D steps into the Baron pit to try and assist his jungler. Tarzan is just tanking everything and manages to steal it away from Way yet again. An absolute thief in the night, and Light is just frontlining, absolutely shredding out the rest of RNG as everyone falls, crying as well. And this might just be the end of the game. There is still a lot of real estate between LNG and the Nexus. However, they have Baron buff. They have just 5 members at full HP. They can tank up the towers, no problem. And the tower damage they get from the Trundle bite resets, from Ale being there, from the AD carrying, in fact even from Icon with the buff that they've given to AP mages doing damage to turrets for the longest time. And it looks like LNG actually will take that one teamfight victory to the house. RNG are reeling on the inside. Game well played. In comes the Stormbringer. Way trying to run forward and give LNG something to feast upon, but he's pinned between a pillar and the rest of LNG. Ming stepping forward, but it looks like he will not even be alive for the end of the game. LNG, as previously mentioned, just group up and play together as a team. Ale doing a fantastic job in spite of falling behind, able to just cause such a big amount of pressure in the side lanes of RNG, and he's just absolutely a threat. So, I mean, game 1 goes the way of LNG. It was quite calm up until the final point when everything just went in favor of LNG, who just grouped up and did exceptionally well. So I guess there's really nothing more to say, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for game 2. See ya!